Hello friends, I'm back with another 3 cards, 1 stamp set collaboration with my friends Helen and Alma. And this time we are using a new stamp set from MFT. I think this is from last month's release and it's called Fast-track Friends. I love how they illustrated the images here, and of course there are a lot of sentiments that are included. I also purchased the coordinating dies. I think this set is perfect to use not only for boy or masculine cards, but for someone who enjoys cars and car racing, or just about anyone who loves to receive a super fun card. So I hope you will enjoy watching my process of creating 3 cards using this set. For card number 1, I am using this Queen & Company Sunburst cover plate die on a white 80-pound cardstock from Accent Opaque, and I'm just taping my die cut panel on my table, and then these are the Distress Oxide inks I chose for my ink blending. So for each sunray, I will just blend the colors that I've chosen, and right now I'm on the third ink blending using tumbled glass, I think, and then the fourth. I will be listing all the colors on the screen so you know what colors I use, and then I'm just protecting the next sun ray with a washi tape so I don't contaminate the colors, and I just keep blending until I get the result that I want. So now after I'm done with all the last 3 of the ink blending, I'm gonna remove the tape from my panel, and then I'll show you here that the pieces that is in between all these sun rays, I will also ink blend using more colors of the Distress Oxide inks. So I start with the one on the left side, which is next to the pink colored sunray, and then I go on to the next one. I will use this panel for my background. That's why I chose the lighter shades of the Distress Oxide inks, and I want it a little brighter than the colored image that I will be using for this card. After I ink blend all the small pieces, I will be attaching it to the main panel using the Elizabeth Craft Designs double-sided tape. So I'm just covering the back of the panel so it will be easier for me to inlay those pieces on the front of my panel. You can also use like a typing paper or a cardstock and liquid glue, but I just thought I can use this Elizabeth Craft Designs double-sided tape that I have been hoarding, so I wanted to use this as well. So now that everything's attached, I will trim the excess double-sided tape. And here is the image that I will be using. I colored it off cam to save time, and I use Copic markers to color my image. So here I will just trim a tiny bit on the sides of my panel because I wanted to put this on a black cardstock, so I want a bit of a border around my panel. So it's a little smaller than the A2 size. And now before I put that on my card base, I will be stamping my sentiment on a scrap black cardstock. I chose the sentiment that says racing to wish you a happy birthday, but since I'm trying to save time, I will be stamping the other sentiments as well. So I will be prepping my cardstock with the embossing powder, and then I'm using the Versamark ink to ink up my sentiments, and then just use the white embossing powder for my sentiments, I think my embossing powder is from the Recollections brand from Michaels. I'm just using a dry brush to remove some stray embossing powder and then use my heat gun to melt all this powder until it's shiny. And then I will use Lawn Fawn Sentiment banner die to cut the sentiments. I love this dies from Lawn Fawn, that's why I always use it. So I'm just showing you that I'll be making an interactive card, but before I attach the wobbler, I am stamping the number 1 image on the front part of the car, and then now I can adhere this wobbler on the back of my image. So now I'm putting double-sided foam tape on my sentiment so I can adhere it to the left side of my panel. And then just removing the release tape from my double-sided tape and then attach it to my A2 size top folding black card base. And I also have this tiny yellow flag that I will attach behind the car and the critter, and then hold it with my tweezer until the glue dries up. And then I also colored like 3 stars off cam with my Copic markers. The stars are also from the stamp set. I'm using my art glitter glue and my jewel picker to make it easier for me because the stars are super tiny. And I can now remove my tweezer because it already dried up. And I'm just gonna use my Nuvo Aqua Shimmer glitter pen to just add some shimmer on the stars and on the front part of my car. And my card number 1 is done. I love the wobbling of this image, and I really had fun making this card. For my second card, I will be using this Gina Marie Designs Stitch Rectangle Slimline die set to cut my card panel. I used the second to the largest die from that die set, and I will be ink blending my background. I will be using Distress ink this time, and I'll be using these blending brushes and Distress Oxide ink, the weathered wood and the tumbled glass. I'm just using a washi tape to separate the 2 sections. I'm gonna start with the tumbled glass, and that will be like my sky background for this slimline card, and I'll just ink blend all over that top panel of my card base. And then I'll remove the washi tape and then transfer that to the other side so I can also ink blend the bottom part of my panel using another blending brush and weathered wood distressed ink. So I just keep blending on this side of the panel. This will serve as my ground for the race car image that I will be using for this card. Now that I'm done ink blending, I will set it aside to dry. And these are the images that I chose for this card. Now that my panel is dry, I will use this Technic Tuesday penny slider die set to create the sliding mechanism on my card. The slider die that I use is a little short, so I will use this die again to extend the cut by moving it a bit on the right side and run it through my die cutting machine again. So now it's longer. And now I have this white cardstock panel that I'll be putting behind my ink blended panel. I'm just marking it with my pencil so I know where to ink blend. I'm using the same Weathered Wood Distress ink. So this will be the one that you'll see through the window of my sliding die cut. So this will look a little bit seamless rather than leaving it all white. And before I attach everything together, I will first stamp my sentiment on my ink blended panel. I'll be using my Mini Misty to stamp my sentiment. I will put my sentiment on the left lower side of my panel. I'll use my embossing bag to prep the area before I use my Versamark ink to stamp the image. And then I'll use my white embossing powder again for the sentiment. I'll use my heat gun to melt this powder until it's shiny. So now I can adhere this blended panel to my white card panel. I doubled up some double-sided foam tape so I could create a channel for my slider. And I am using this tiny round die set for my penny. I cut it like, I think the six pieces, I cut it twice to create that tiny slider mechanism. So I just attach it to the penny. And then now I'm removing all the release paper from the tape, and then I made sure I trapped the penny underneath that blended panel so it will move freely, and I made sure that it is not gonna get stuck by using that double-sided foam tape. I hope I'm making sense. So now I will adhere this image on top of my sentiment using my glitter glue, and then attach the other image on top of that slider mechanism. I use a penny to make it heavy so that it will slide smoothly from one side to the other, just like this one. Now I'm gonna use my Nuvo Aqua Shimmer glitter pen to add some shine on my images. This card was basically done, but I feel like the blue background is kind of lacking something, or it feels like it's empty. So I colored some more stars. I colored it red. I used some Copic markers for that, and I attached some of them behind that race scar. And now I have this slimline card base measuring 8 1/4 by 3 1/4, and then I'm attaching my finished card panel on my card base. And I still feel like it's lacking something, so what I did was to get a die set from Hero Arts. It's the Infinity Cloud dies, and I cut some of the smallest using the smallest dies from the set. I cut 4 of the clouds, and then I'm just adding them to my background. I shaded it a little bit with using my Copic marker. I think I used the C00. I just shaded one side just to give some texture to my clouds, and then I just cut the excess. And now I feel like it's finally done. So this is my card number 2. So for my card number 3, I will be using some of these images that are already colored. So I have this white cardstock 80-pound accent opaque. I will be using this LDRS Creative Cutting Edge Border Die. I don't have a road stamp or a road die, so I'm making my own. So I just cut the cardstock on both sides, making sure that the lower portion of the card stock is wider than the upper part, so it will look like a winding road. So using a blending brush, I'm gonna ink blend this cut piece using two distress inks, the Hickory Smoke and Black Soot. Right now I'm using the Hickory Smoke just to color the edges, and then now I'm using the Black Soot to darken it up some more. I'm leaving the middle part a little bit lighter so it will create a highlight. So I'm darkening the edges more using the Black Soot. And now I'm using this piece, a die piece from CC Designs. I think this is their pull-up tab die set, and I'm just using that tiny piece to create that white lines in the middle of the road. And then I'm just choosing the images that I'll be using for this card. And now I'm cutting a piece of white cardstock that I will put behind my road and just attach that using liquid glue. And here I'm just cutting the excess. And then I'm just gonna get a green pattern paper from this Doodlebug paper pad. But before I attach everything together, I will stamp a heart image on that flag that my cat critter is holding. I'm using my red archival ink. And while I'm thinking about the placement, I will trim down this panel to create a mat later on. So here I'm just showing you where I'm gonna be putting two of the critters. I will pop this up with foam tape, but this road will be adhered directly on my pattern paper, the green pattern paper. And then both of those car racers will be pop up on the bottom of my panel. I will attach my sentiment on a white strip of cardstock. And then I also pop up this cute cat, the one holding the flag, and then the sentiment strip will be adhered directly on my panel. And then this is my card base. I will attach my completed panel on a white A2 size top folding card base. And to finish it off, I have these Amy Tangerine heart stickers that I will add to my card. I had a hard time deciding where to put these puffy stickers, but in the end I'll put one big puffy heart sticker on the front of the yellow critter. And again, I use my Nuvo glitter shimmer pen to add some shine, and I also use my white gel roll pen to add some highlights on my images. And finally, I stamp one on that on the front of the car of the purple critter. And my card is complete. This is my card number 3. I had fun making these cards, and I hope you enjoyed watching my card process. Please don't forget to watch Helen and Alma's video tutorials using this stamp set. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!